All right, let's talk about something that can make any Linux admin's blood run cold, the kernel panic. You know, that wall of text that means your system is down for the count? But here's the thing, it's not a disaster, it's a puzzle, and today we're going to learn how to solve it.
So picture this. You walk into the office, coffee in hand, and your main server is dead in the water. It's not responding, not booting, nothing. And you just feel that pit in your stomach. That's the exact moment we're going to prepare for today.
And this is probably what you're staring at. A whole screen of scary-looking text that ends with this absolute gem of a message. It looks like total nonsense, right? But it's not. This is a clue. It's the system literally telling you, hey, the problem is right here. We're going to learn how to read these clues and fight back.
So what even is a kernel panic? Well, think of it as the kernel pulling the emergency brake. It's hit an error so bad, so critical, that carrying on would be dangerous. It could corrupt data, you name it. So to prevent any more damage, it just stops. It's not a random crash. It's a very deliberate self-preservation move.
Okay, here is our game plan for this rescue mission. First, we're going to understand the emergency call, what a kernel panic actually is. Then, we'll assess the scene by decoding the boot process. After that, we've got two main recovery playbooks, one for fixing a broken initramifs and one for a busted grub bootloader. And finally, we'll do a little post-mortem so this hopefully never happens to you again.
All right, let's get to it. Before we start typing any commands, we have to understand what's supposed to happen when a Linux system boots up. We need a map of the territories so we can find where things went wrong.
You know, the easiest way to think about this whole process is to compare it to starting a car. Grub, the bootloader, is like the GPS. Its only job is to get you to the right place, in this case to find the engine, which is the Linux kernel. Then you've got this file called initramfs. That's your car key and the starter motor all rolled into one. It's the thing that actually turns the engine over. So if your GPS is broken or you lost your key, well, you're not going anywhere, are you? So here's how that plays out technically. Your computer's firmware, the BIOS or UEFI, kicks everything off. It hands control to Grub. Grub then uses its map to find and load two super important files, the kernel, called vmlinux, and that initramfs starter kit. The initramfs then loads just enough drivers to find your main hard drive. If it can do that, the system starts up. That error message we saw, it's telling us that step number 4 is where everything fell apart.
And these are our main suspects, all living in the /boot directory. You've got vmlinux, the engine, initrams, our starter kit, and grub.cfg. That's the configuration file, the GPS coordinates for Grub. I'd bet money that in 99% of cases, the problem is with either the initrams or grub.cfg.
So let's jump into our first recovery scenario. This is probably the most common one you'll see for that unable to mount error, a corrupted or missing initrams file. The car key is broken. Let's make a new one.
The best part about this fix, most modern Linux distros come with a built-in life raft. When you boot up, you can usually select a rescue kernel from the Grub menu. It's a lifesaver. From there, the steps are super simple. You log in, check which kernel version you need to fix, run one little command to rebuild the broken file, and you're back in business.
And this, my friends, is the magic command, Dracket. This tool's whole purpose in life is to build that initramfs image. That $uname bit is just a neat shell trick to automatically put in your kernel version number. But the most important part here is that little -f. It means force. It tells Dracket, I don't care what's there now, overwrite that old busted file with the fresh working one. Okay, cool. But what if the starter kit, the initramfs, is perfectly fine, but the GPS is totally on the fritz? What if Grub itself is corrupted? Well, that brings us to playbook number 2, repairing the bootloader. Now for this one, our built-in rescue kernel won't cut it. We need to call in the cavalry. You'll need to boot your system from the original installation disk or a USB drive. From there, you enter a special rescue mode that lets you troot into your broken system. It's kind of like performing surgery from outside the patient's body. Once we're in, we'll reinstall Grub, rebuild its map, and then, and this is super important, we'll do one final critical step. The first big step inside the shroot is this, grub2 install. This command rewrites the bootloader code right onto the start of your main hard drive. Now, 9 times out of 10, that drive is going to be /dev/sda. But please do yourself a favor and double check with a command like lsblock first, just to be absolutely sure. So we've reinstalled the Grub program, but it doesn't know what to boot yet. We need to give it a new map. That's what grub2-mconfig does. It scans your hard drive, finds all your Linux kernels, and generates a brand new grub.cfg file from scratch. This is what builds that boot menu you see when you start the computer.
Okay, everybody, stop. Seriously, put down your coffee. I really need you to listen to this next part, because you can do everything perfectly up to this point. You can reinstall grub, generate the config, reboot, and it boots. But then you try to log in, and it fails. Every time. It is one of the most frustrating things in the world, and it all comes down to one tiny, often forgotten step.
This right here is what I call the golden rule of Troot repairs. See, when you're operating on the system from the outside, the special security labels that SE Linux uses on all the files can get all mixed up. This simple little command, touch/auto-relabel, just creates a blank file. But that file tells the system, hey, on the next reboot, I need you to go through and fix every single file's security label. It adds maybe a minute to your boot time, but it will save you hours of pain. Trust me. Phew. Okay, your system is back online, you're logged in, the fire is out, but our job's not quite done. Now we need to switch hats from firefighter to fire marshal. How do we make sure this doesn't happen again?
Honestly, prevention is all about good habits. Make it a policy to back up your /boot directory. It's super small and contains all the critical files we've just been fixing. Before you roll out a new kernel to production, test it on a staging server first. And please, keep that installation ISO on a USB stick somewhere safe. It's your system's first aid kit. We've gone through a lot, I know. So let's boil it all down to a simple cheat sheet. These are the commands you'll want to have in your back pocket for when things go sideways. Here they are, the Fantastic Four. Dracket to rebuild your car key, grub to install, and grub2-mconfig to fix your GPS. And of course, the golden rule. Touch/auto-relabel to sort out all the security permissions after you've done the surgery. These 4 commands will get you out of so much trouble.
I'm going to say it one more time, because it is that important. If you take away only one single thing today, let it be this. Forgetting to auto-label is the #1 reason these repairs look like they worked, but didn't. Don't forget the golden rule.
So let's end with a question for you. You did it. You followed the playbook, the system is back online, you're logged in. Everything is good. What is the absolute first command you should run? If your answer is something like, make a backup of the now working /boot directory, then you've got it. You've officially graduated from Kernel Panic First Responder. Thanks for joining me.